Hey, renter retires. It's Adam Schroeder here with another episode, and today we are going to take a deep dive into one of the markets that we're investing in, and that is San Antonio, Texas. I am joined today by Clay and Lexi. They are two of the top team members that we have in that area. So, Clay and Lexi, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. We're happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, San Antonio, Texas, people know the Spurs. People know the Alamo. That's probably about the, maybe the Riverwalk. People might know the Riverwalk, and that's probably about the extent of what people know about San Antonio, not realizing that it's, like the 11th biggest city in the country or something like that?
Actually seventh largest city in the United States,
So,
second in Texas.
But the Spurs get mocked as a small town team.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about why Texas is a good place for investors. Like, what exactly is driving San Antonio, since people know so little about it?
Yeah. So for me, I've lived in San Antonio since 1994. I'm going to age myself a little bit there. But San Antonio is just a booming city, and it's, a lot of people, like you said, they've heard of, they hear of Austin because high tech, Austin's kind of the sexy city of Texas, right? Dallas, Fort Worth, of course, Houston. But San Antonio, like we said earlier, is the seventh largest city in the United States. I tell all my investors that buy from us, really that it's San Antonio is kind of a blue collar city in a way. I mean, it's a lot of just hardworking people, and our base. What really I think drives San Antonio is the military. So San Antonio is known as Military City USA. We've got multiple military bases across San Antonio. We've got Randolph Air Force Base. We've got Lackland Air Force Base, which is where all the basic training is done for the Air Force. So if you join the Air Force, you're going to be in San Antonio. And then we have Fort Sam Houston, which is a southern command post for the entire Army. So, military gives us that base, which really, helps San Antonio. When the market's great, when the market's down, San Antonio is always very consistent. And then we really benefit from our proximity to Mexico. So the trade with our highway system, we have Interstate 35, which goes from Laredo, of course, all the way to Canada. You've got Interstate 10, takes you from Florida to California. So San Antonio is a big location for distribution, for manufacturing. We have Toyota building the Toyota Tundra here. We've got Navistar building 18-wheelers here. We've got Holt Caterpillar building all the Caterpillar big heavy equipment here in San Antonio. So we've got a lot of really distribution, manufacturing jobs to go along with the military bases. So that's really what's driving San Antonio.
So do you think the big reason it doesn't get anything is because it doesn't have any of the big sexy industries? Is that kind of what you're saying?
It's just, Austin's just high tech, so it gets, of course, all of that good PR. That's possible, I guess. Dallas, Fort Worth's very, finance driven. Houston, of course, is oil and gas. San Antonio, that's why I say it's kind of like the working man city, really. I know one thing that is really growing in San Antonio is cybersecurity. Right now, we're the number 2 location in the United States for cybersecurity jobs. We have the headquarters of forgetting the name here, the National, there's something with the defense, is the headquarters are based here in San Antonio. And then we have a Port San Antonio, which is a big area of where there's a lot of cybersecurity jobs as well. So,
okay. So tell us a little bit about why y'all have chosen the multifamily space, because you've got the duplexes, you got the quadplexes. Why not just go single family? Why focus on the multi?
Yeah, so I've been, I initially started building single family, and I had a investment group come in to one of my developments. This was back in 2002, and wanted to buy multifamily, basically fourplexes in San Antonio. That's kind of what led me into where we're at today. And so we've just kind of fallen in this niche, really. We like it. We know it really well. We've been doing it for, over 20 plus years. So we have a, huge following of investors that buy from us at all of our developments. And, going single family, then I'm competing with, Lennar, D.R. Horton, all the publicly traded companies. And for me, I kind of like to stay, focus on what we do well and not really, try to get into competition with the big boys.
Yeah. And Lexi, what kind of fears do investors have when they come to you about San Antonio? I'm assuming some of it is Texas property taxes, because that's a big concern that everybody has. But what are some of the things that investors come to you with consistently, and kind of how do you answer those concerns?
Yeah. So actually, when you asked that question, the first thing that came to my mind was property tax, because there's no doubt that's what everybody says. Anytime I talk to anybody, about Texas, really. But they have found comfort in the fact that, Texas is doing some work to lower property taxes. So that's always great. But as far as for multifamily specifically, a lot of people do ask, why wouldn't I just get a single family home, right? Isn't it a lot easier maybe to maintain, manage, that kind of thing? And I do always talk about, it does make sense. And I'm not going to say, whenever you're first coming to a market, you should, shoot for the moon and get, a fourplex. It depends. Everybody is different. But I think what's really important to note is when investors get to a point in their portfolio that they really want to scale, I think this small multifamily niche is really what really helps them. Because when you get into anything over 4 units, at least in Texas, you have to go to that commercial loan. There's a lot more barriers of entry. Whereas single family, also, whenever you're doing a traditional loan route, like with conventional loans, they would be, they can only have 10. So I always talk to investors about how, when you want to scale your portfolio, having 10 fourplexes means 40 units, instead of 10. So that's always something that they really like to consider. And it just really depends on where they want to take their portfolio.
All right. And I don't know which of you is the best to answer this one, but tell us a little bit about where you're currently building in San Antonio. Like what types of areas are you focusing on? Who's going to be those tenants? I know we mentioned, the blue collar workers, but there's a big gap between, military workers and cybersecurity workers. So tell us a little bit about the areas and who you're targeting for tenants.
Yeah. So a little bit about us, we build neighborhoods. We don't do one-off, one duplex here, one duplex there. So we're building neighborhoods. Our smallest would be 15 duplexes. In fact, we just sold out. We're closing out of that probably a couple weeks. We have 15 different developments going on. So our smallest, like I mentioned, was 15 duplexes. Our largest is right at about 100 fourplexes. So kind of we got everything in between, and we're all across San Antonio. So we really concentrate on the northeast side of San Antonio. That's for the military bases by Randolph Air Force Base and Fort Sam Houston. You've got I-35 corridor with connecting Austin. You've got the manufacturing distribution jobs there. Then we also have projects, North Central, which is going to be kind of a higher end area, higher rents. Excuse me. And then we're on the northwest side, which is close to Port San Antonio with kind of the cybersecurity jobs. You've got a lot of data processing centers, headquarters, business headquarters there. So we really kind of have something for everybody. If someone really, depends on their budget, depends on their goals, investment goals, we've got product across San Antonio. And we're also actually just entering Dallas-Fort Worth market and have 3 locations there that we'll be going vertical on within the next 30 to 60 days.
And so one of the things that jumps out at me that a lot of people get concerned about whenever we start talking about building neighborhoods is, how are we going to, what are we going to see in terms of, equity growth, in terms of, neighborhoods, that kind of stuff, and making sure that they're still in quality neighborhoods. Whenever you think about, massive neighborhoods of duplexes and quadplexes, you might think that the tenant quality or the neighborhood quality may not be as good as a neighborhood of single family homes.
Yeah, so we really run it, similar. You see all the build-to-rent communities now, the single-family build-to-rent communities that popped up. So, we run it as almost like an apartment complex. So we maintain the management for the investor for all the units. We keep the rents constant. We're pushing rents up year in, year out. We're managing the neighborhood through the HOA as well. So we're able to make sure that yards are cut, the upkeep is there, and be able to help push the values up. And with us having that background from, building duplex, fourplex communities for over 20 years, we know that we have to make our investors money or our investors aren't going to buy from us again. And we really pride ourselves on having repeat buyers. I mean, that's our biggest goal. So we want to make sure the investors are reaching their goals. And that's one thing Lexi does a fantastic job of visiting with each investor and finding out really what their goal is, whether it's long-term growth or short-term or, whatever it might be. And we're able to put them in a product that's going to match, the goal that they have.
Yeah. Do y'all know in general kind of what equity growth or rent growth y'all are generally seeing? Like, are we looking at something in the 1% to 2%? Are we looking at the 7-8%? Just kind of historically what San Antonio has done for investors?
Yeah, rent growth, we strive as the management company, they strive for 5% per year is their goal, to get at least 5%. Now, there's been years when we don't get quite that because maybe the market's down or, inflation's super high. Like right now, this year we're probably going to get 5% because of the way the overall economy is. Now, San Antonio as a city for appreciation, very constant 6% on average. If you looked at San Antonio over 30, 40, 50 years, you're going to see like 6% average appreciation in the marketplace. Now, there's years where, of course, appreciation was much higher. But you also, the one unique thing about San Antonio, and I mentioned it earlier, is when, like 2008, when the crash happened, San Antonio really didn't suffer. You didn't see values come down. So that's one thing that, San Antonio is a very safe city to invest in, but you do have a good, constant 6% appreciation year in and year out.
Fantastic. So now let's go into, the market's solid. We're talking about the equity growth, rent growth, all of that. What about the actual builds? Tell people a little bit, because there's a wide range whenever you talk build to rent, from, everything's, Home Depot style finishes to everything's, stainless, granite or quartz or whatever the newest thing is for the countertops and all of that. So what are y'all doing to your builds to make them attractive, but also tenant proof?
Yeah. I'll let Lexi, you want to take that or?
Yeah. So I think really what's most important is that we do, with every development, try to learn a little bit from it and in conjunction with the property management and seeing what they hear from the tenants. But just a little bit about our specs. We, like you mentioned, we do use granite countertops. There's stainless steel appliances. We're actually really proud of that. We just did start implementing is the technology package. We know that a lot of people are, tenants specifically are really excited about that just because, we have that keyless door entry, which, keeping up with the times, everybody loves the keyless door entry. We also have a smart thermostat, which is really great, not only for the tenant when they're living in there, but even for the owner, because if, there's a time where maybe they're in a little vacancy period and, maybe the weather is changing or, there's a storm coming in or whatever it may be, they're able to log in on their phone and, set things where they need to from, states away potentially. So that's a really great thing. We use luxury vinyl plank downstairs for the tile, which is pretty nice. A lot of tenants like that as well. And then we'll have carpet upstairs. And, of course, LVP in the areas upstairs that are, the bathrooms, washer, dryer. And speaking of washer, dryer, we do have those typically upstairs, which is another great thing for the tenants just because they don't have to lug their laundry up and downstairs, being that the rooms are up there. So we do try to make sure that we're keeping up with the times and listening to feedback and just being able to improve our product.
Yeah, thank you. So one of the things we always get asked whenever it comes to new construction is, you mentioned kind of the stainless steel appliances and all of that. What do investors get and what might they need to incur after they close? Like, are refrigerators included, blinds, any of that? Kind of tell people a little bit about it so they know going in, okay, I need to also budget for this or I don't need to budget for that.
Yeah, so our product honestly is completely turnkey. They'll have appliances that include the fridge, the stove range, a microwave, and a dishwasher. They also do have a garbage disposal, which people have asked me about. And the only, appliance sort thing that we don't include would be the washer and dryer, but just because it's the norm in our market that tenants come with them. And if they don't, for some reason, our property management team does have a good contact for washer dryer rentals. So they're able to take advantage of that. But honestly, most people will come with their own. As you mentioned, we do also include blinds. They have, of course, the garage and the garage door opener. There's landscaping, sod included, xeriscaping in the front. So really the product is pretty much turnkey. There's nothing really that the investor has to budget for after closing.
Awesome. And Clay, you mentioned a word earlier that some people say it sometimes sends shivers down people's spine, and that is HOA.
Right.
Appease our fears about HOAs and why people shouldn't be worrying about that necessarily.
Yeah, so ours is set up a very nominal fee. Normally it's, for a duplex, it's about $360 per year for the entire duplex. For a fourplex, it's around $720 a year. And it's really just set up so we can control the neighborhood to the degree that we want to make sure that we keep the values up for the investors. That's the sole reason of the HOA, that we set it up just to make sure that, the units look good, the lawns look good, there's no, rundown cars or boats parked or anything like that. So it's strictly for us to just make sure that we can maintain that development for our investor to always look good, to keep their values up and push their values higher.
All right, yeah, that's I have some in an HOA, and man, I wish they believed in running it like you sound like you do with your HOA. That's for sure. So, why should, in your opinion, people choose you? I mean, you kind of mentioned in single family, people can get with D.R. Horton or Lennar, any of the big builders. And what differentiates your build and company values and everything that differentiates you from the others?
Yes, I mean, there's, in the United States, to be honest, there's very limited true builders that are building duplex or fourplex communities. You don't have a lot of choice, to be honest. But the few that you could choose from, what sets us apart really, I think, is our family values. Like I mentioned earlier, we're a family company, and everyone who buys from us, we want them to be like family. We want them not only to buy from us one time, but we want their kids to be buying from my kids. And that's what we're really trying to grow, and that's what I feel like really sets us apart. The other thing that sets us apart is, we're not just a builder. We're a land developer as well. So people that cannot develop land are not going to be able to build duplex communities. It's just there's no lots out there. You have to buy land and develop your own lots to really build any volume in this duplex or fourplex at least arena. Because as a developer, you develop lots for the masses, which is going to be D.R. Horton and Lennar and KB Homes and the single family guys. You're not going to develop lots for a duplex buyer, and then all of a sudden a builder can't close, and then you're stuck with lots, So we have to develop our own sites, and that enables us to grow, but it gives us a distinct advantage over most people, because most people that are builders don't have the knowledge or know how to develop lots, and that's where we really, I think, excel.
Yeah. And I want to dive in, obviously this is happening today, but if you're watching this, 1, 2, 3 years down the road, maybe even 6 months, who knows, it might not still be there, but y'all are offering financing that is really ridiculous in a lot of ways. Can one of y'all touch on what financing options you're offering to investors right now?
Yeah, definitely. I can touch on that real quick. So what we're doing is basically it's called the capital markets trade. We have a lender that we're able to make a trade where we're paying for rates up front. We're basically buying a rate for our investors, and we're able to use that rate across any of our projects. We're able to buy it down to basically 4.25% is what we're buying the rate down right now for investors, and that's a 30-year amortization, and it's a 10-year balloon. So the investor has 10 years at 4.25, and then, of course, it would adjust after 10 years. But what we recommend to most people, they're going to refinance within 10 years, or they're going to exit and sell the property. And we have a lot of people that will buy from us and hold for, 5 to 7 years. They're selling, taking advantage of all the equity that they've earned, and then they're coming in, and instead of buying one duplex, they're buying 2 duplexes from us with the equity they've earned. So we see that a lot as well. So 10 years gives them plenty of time to either refinance or exit, but it's locked in at that 4.25 interest rate for them, which is tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to just kind of wrap this up by asking each of you to make your pitch to investors about not only San Antonio, but just why on earth they need to get off the couch and do something. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is taking steps, taking action to actually get involved with investing and improving your life. So, Lexi, maybe we start with you. You're talking to the investors right now. Get them off the fence.
Yeah, I think honestly, the biggest thing with real estate, and I am somebody who I try to read every book. I will listen to every podcast, and I really want to soak in as much knowledge as possible. And I think that happens to a lot of investors, right? And I think it's the most important thing is not getting stuck in that analysis paralysis kind of stage. That's what a common theme that I hear in a lot of, the books that I read by experts and things like that. And so I think really, do your due diligence, look at everything you want to look at. But a lot of knowledge with really anything comes with experience. And I think really deciding to just kind of take the plunge and realize that, hey, maybe if you make an investment and it's not the best thing in the world, you would walk away for sure with experience, with knowledge for the next time. And at least also there, it's, you can depreciate things, right? It can help you with your taxes. So I think that's the main thing, is just really looking at the things that can come out of it that are good, that you'll get for sure. And then just trying to, just prepare as much as possible for what might not be as great.
Yeah.
All right, Clay, can you do better than that?
All right. That was a great answer. But for me, I would say really, if you're looking to build, I'm so focused on my family. I'm just trying to grow something for my family. So I would say if, you're single, if you're a young family, if you're, older and you want to leave something for your grandkids or whatever, so this is the one way to build generational wealth. I mean, investing in real estate has proven year in and year out, if you really want to build wealth, it's by owning real estate and letting someone else pay your mortgage for you. You build equity, like Lexi mentioned, you have the depreciation, and then you receive appreciation, because we're in San Antonio, we're in Texas, which everyone knows is booming and it's not going to slow down. And so, I think it's just, this is the one way to really build generational wealth that you can leave to your kids and grandkids, and that's the best thing about it.
Yeah, absolutely. If people don't know about the Austin San Antonio corridor, it's pretty dang close to one city at this point in time with the development that's happened along 35. Every time I drive that, I just look around and go, wow, that's a lot of continuity between the two. Because I remember back in the day, there used to be a big gap between the two whenever you're driving it, and that is no more. So if you want to see the properties that Clay and Lexi are throwing out there, head on over to renttoretirement.com, click on the active inventory. You'll see the sheet that has their duplex and quadplexes available right there on it. You'll see the returns. Get in touch with one of our strategists. Just click on schedule a call or learn more, and we will get you all in touch with them and the lender and start working through the process to maybe put one or two or more of these in your portfolio. And as always, if you have any questions that you want answered on future shows, send an email over to podcast@renttoretirement.com. That's podcast@renttoretirement.com. And Zach and I will answer that in a future episode. Clay, Lexi, thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate y'all's time. To everybody else, appreciate you taking the time to educate yourself today. We'll talk to you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Rent to Retirement YouTube channel. Check out some of our other videos, like this one, or this one here.